Welcome to the 36th edition of Make Pro Wrestling Majestic. Again, I am Tiger Height.
And I am the Gallery of Many Peanuts.
And for the ending of 2021, we are going to be going through the worst. So, before we even get into it, the championship, our champion, the Majestic Champion, is going to be vacant going into 2022.
It is, yes. Our first pay-per-view, obviously, is day one, which is going to be next week. For those of you who are watching this on video, stay tuned.
We have a surprise
for a
our
special
ending.
Surprise at the end
But for
coming
right now,
into 2022.
but for right now, let's get into it. So, Peter Gallery is going to lead this. I particularly do not like how he's going to do this, but we're just going to roll with it. Peanut Gallery, end of year awards for the worst of blank.
Oh my God, I've been watching so many of these. A lot of great moments happened this year, but a lot of not so great moments happened this year as well. First thing I want to reference is, let's just talk about WWE, because this is where most of the stuff is coming from. And I want to specifically talk first about Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch won a couple of awards this year. And they're not very good awards. And the reason for that is because of the way that she was booked upon her return at SummerSlam. So if you remember, she won the title within 30 seconds.
It was like 18 seconds.
Something, within the 30
it was actually
seconds.
worse. It was actually worse than you thought.
At SummerSlam, which I was there to witness live, I was expecting there to be a classic match, right? But that match did not go over so well. It wasn't very well received. And this was a part of a push for Vince McMahon, or for WWE, to make Becky Lynch a heel. And
it's working really well
and
right now. She's the best thing on Raw.
It's not working very well, though.
It is working very well.
No, it's not, because she's still being cheered despite the fact that she's a heel.
Well, her rivalry right now with Liv, she is the clear heel.
But she's still being cheered as
not as much with Liv. Like before, because she had the attitude.
Right.
I am 110% disagreeing that Becky Lynch is a worst of anything.
Becky Lynch is the worst heel this year.
It's hard to definitively say if she. No.
Absolutely.
That is straight up wrong. I'm sorry.
She is the worst heel of the year.
I cannot agree with that. I'm sorry.
And the reason that she is not because of her in-ring work. It's because of the reaction of the fans.
And you say it's the same thing about the Hurt Business. They were cheered. They were well received. Like Bobby Lashley.
Again.
When he faced off against Goldberg was the obvious babyface in that match. And Bobby Lashley was over like Rover at SummerSlam. We were there. It's hard for me to agree with this one personally.
It's all manufactured. It's a manufactured heel that's being created with Becky Lynch. There's nothing natural about it. There's not that anti-hero that you got in 2019 with The Man. There's not that sort of anti-hero-esque thing. She's just obnoxious. But people are still cheering her on because it's Becky fucking Lynch.
So what awards did Becky Lynch win? So
I named her the worst heel of the year. And it's not because of her fault. It's because fan reaction is kind of the opposite of what WWE is intending.
Right. Well, WWE wanted it to be that way because Bianca Belair was so liked.
Right.
And I agree with you that it didn't work.
Yeah, that's the part of it that didn't work. I'm also naming her the most overrated wrestler of the year.
I also love this meme, by the way. This is one of my favorite pictures.
And the reason that she is the most overrated is because I feel like her character is lacking this time around. You don't have that, again, you don't have that aura.
Big time Bex is annoying.
It is. It's annoying.
That's not her fault. I think Becky Lynch has awesome charisma. She is doing the best of what she can get for right now. This is WWE manufactured.
Yes.
That CGI Becky Lynch is just
it's
horrible.
Obnoxious. It's absolutely terrible. And so the reason I put her as most overrated is because she is lacking the aura that
the man had.
That the man
because
had.
you cannot recapture the man.
No, you can't.
And they're trying to. They didn't want to do the man Becky Lynch because that would make her a
Right.
babyface automatically. They wanted to do something different. Now,
Right.
her stuff with Liv right now is great. So and also she was only there halfway through the year, which is
Right.
why I don't think she technically qualifies for this. But it's your list, not
right.
mine.
But I technically I think that she is a little overrated right now, and I think the problem too is that WWE is leaning way too much on Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, for that matter, more so than I would like at this stage of the game.
I would actually agree with you more about Charlotte Flair being the worst heel instead of Becky Lynch. Because Charlotte Flair actually wrestled through the whole year, and she hasn't evolved. Charlotte Flair is a Charlotte Flair.
But Charlotte Flair is being booed, which is what WWE wants.
Yeah, but there's no development with it.
No.
It's the same as it was before, and that's why I would put Charlotte Flair on that than Becky Lynch. At least Becky Lynch is doing something different. She's still being cheered, but she's doing something different.
But it's not very good.
It's not through no fault of her own. She's doing the best out of this situation. Nobody else could do the big time.
Anyways,
action.
from one bad heel to other bad heels, so let's talk a little bit about Doudrop and Eva Marie.
Oh God, these two won a couple of different ones.
They did.
Also, by the way, this is a great picture. I love it. Peanut Gallery crushed it on the pictures.
I crushed it on the pictures. I didn't have pictures for like every single award, so that's kind of why I'm doing it in this manner. But
so Eva
Marie. It's amazing as to how she can actually get worse when she comes back around. Normally, when a wrestler goes on hiatus, they do some improvements.
There was
right?
an opportunity for that person to grow and develop as a wrestler. Eva Marie got worse.
I know. Somehow she got worse.
Also,
and then when she entered into the ring, she somehow was worse.
Yep. Also, keep in mind as well, not only... Well, number one, her return was useless because she's been released by the company again.
Yeah.
But also, number two, she was hired on, what was it, like 3 days after Black Wednesday?
Yeah.
After the big firing of people, they decided to bring Eva Marie back.
Right.
And they released like a bunch of different people.
That was back in 2020 during the height of the pandemic when they released like 20 people along with furloughing like all the backstage crew and stuff. Yeah. And then they decided to bring back Eva Marie.
Was that 2020? She wasn't around during 2020. She was 2021. She was around with people. Right?
No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't doing anything, mind you, but she was.
They were waiting for Thunderdome.
Yes, they were waiting for Thunderdome to bring her.
I think Eva Marie did Thunderdome stuff, but she was not in the heart of the Performance Center.
No,
COVID
she was not
stuff.
Performance Center stuff. But so they hire her, and then she sits around doing nothing for a few months. And
that's not her fault either. But.
Right, but it doesn't help that character at all. It doesn't help the fact that there's so much time in between her actual rehiring and her debut.
Right. So let's talk about the awards that she won. This is Eva Marie only.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Eva Marie, least improved wrestler. Somehow she manages
the worst female wrestler, the worst feud.
Also gets the worst female wrestler award.
The worst feud with Alexa Bliss, Eva Marie, Doudrop.
We're gonna talk a little bit about that.
We'll talk about here.
Minutes.
Right.
But yeah, Eva Marie just somehow comes back and she just does not.
Yep. Least improved.
Just does not do well, and it really looks bad on anyone she feuded with. So let's talk about the feud, the infamous feud with Alexa Bliss.
I have that picture somewhere here.
And it is my award for the worst rivalry in professional wrestling this year. I mean, I think it's probably one of the worst professional wrestling rivalries in the last couple years, just because of all the dynamics just going into this.
So number one, we saw this one live. Alexa Bliss deserves... she deserves a little bit of this as well. She was in a shitty gimmick with acting that was pretty subpar for her because her heart wasn't in it as soon as Bray Wyatt was fired.
Right. So that was part of it. That really did not help Alexa Bliss.
Also, this match died a death. Like, the crowd was dead as a doornail after this match.
But let's talk about the feud going into it as well, because they did some interesting things with the doll.
Interesting?
They made the doll, so they did a really crappy CGI job and
They had the doll rise up.
Yep,
but
you saw the hand.
Yep, that push her up. Do the winking with Doudrop.
Yep.
I think that was the worst match. No, that was not. It was about to be, but then another match happened.
Yep. It was the worst match of the year for a long time. But I mean, I don't know what they were thinking with Alexa Bliss without Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking with Alexa Bliss and the fucking doll. I don't know what they were thinking with...
In WWE's defense, I'll at least give them a defense for the dolls. There were... because we're speaking from actual personal experience being at the building for SummerSlam.
It was a merch mover. The doll produced a lot of merchandise.
There were a bunch of those wannabe emo edgy kids with the stupid dolls dressed as Alexa Bliss.
Right.
So if that's going to be how it is, and that's how it is.
Right. It was kind of like a match made in hell.
And then Charlotte Flair also had one of those stupid fucking dolls too, and it died a death. And they were trying to sell it for like $40. Like, what the fuck?
Exactly. But this wasn't as egregious of a rivalry as it was with
I
Eva
will agree with you on that.
Doudrop, and part of that has to fall on Eva Marie just not being very good in the ring.
I think it all has to fall on Eva Marie because
she cannot carry a match worth shit.
There at least was an interesting dynamic, and I wish it was just Doudrop and Alexa Bliss. But there was that kind of friendly thing, and it was something that at least kind of gravitated for me towards something different.
Right, because
but then as soon as that happened, Doudrop just like, oh, whatever, I'm still with Eva Marie. Why?
Right, and the other thing too is that Doudrop and Eva Marie just did not work very well together. They had like no chemistry whatsoever.
They were just thrown together because people were really, really anticipating of Piper Niven being on main roster.
Right. But no, they have to rename her Doudrop. Speaking of which, worst gimmick of the year goes to Doudrop.
Yeah.
Because of the name. If you look up the name.
What was the definition?
Oh, there are a couple definitions.
What was like the one with the fat girls? And this is something that you should have capped. I don't know why you didn't.
I think it had something to do with like bodily fluids of fat girls.
Yeah, it was disgusting, and I'm like, why did you name her that?
Right.
Because somebody who doesn't even deserve it, because she's really good. Her stuff with Bianca Belair right now has been really, really good stuff.
But she's a decent wrestler, but the name, you just can't take it seriously. You cannot take her seriously at all.
They should have at least named her like Nevin or something like that. If they wanted to do that one-word bullshit, at least do it with a name that people know her as. Or Nevin would be the perfect one for her. Because she's playing a heel.
Right. But no, they have to name her Doudrop. And then she's placed into this rivalry. She's placed into this team with Eva Marie, who cannot carry anything on her own because she sucks.
Right.
And you have this character work that is so produced and shoddy. You have this rivalry with Alexa Bliss that makes no sense whatsoever. And it's so egregious and it's so bad. It's like I said, it's just a match made in hell.
Right.
And
I can agree with you. I can agree with you on that.
There was no interest in it.
There was no interest. It hurt the quality overall of the product.
It did.
Because Eva Marie was on there all the time. It was very annoying. It just didn't work.
Right. So Eva Marie and Doudrop obviously was my worst tag team /faction of this year.
Because they did do tag team matches.
Yeah, they did. They did a few tag team matches.
And that qualifies. So.
And it does. So let's talk about a couple of other things with WWE. I feel like we're doing a lot of WWE stuff, but
WWE was just the worst promotion, bar none.
Yeah, it was. WWE was the worst promotion of the year this year. And the reason for that is there are too many to count.
I'm actually really curious. I saw that this was on there, but you did not say why. Why was the Miz's zombie match on there?
Oh,
This was promotional tactic. Let's talk about promotional tactic.
yeah.
Speaking of WWE, this is promotional tactic.
Yeah, so WWE did a lot of sponsorship-based events, and they've been doing this for a long time. But I felt like this year's sponsorship storylines,
it hit you in the face a lot more this year.
It did. And I kind of get parts of it because I do think that some of it was like, oh, we're still in the Thunderdome and we can do some effects. Whatever. But
when you have
they were bad.
When you have zombies and stupid fucking eggs.
Yep.
Just out of nowhere. What was Reggie's face is exactly what I thought. Like, what the hell is this stupid shit?
And then you get Johnny Drip Drip, which just became a meme and promotional tactic of its own.
But here was the problem with Drip Drip. And guess what? If they did not have the Drip Drip stuff
and it was
shoved down your face,
right?
Because it was like every meme was a Drip Drip stuff. It's like the reason it got over with people was because it was something that Morrison was doing on the side.
Right.
But as soon as they started to do more of it as it relates to storyline reasons with the drip drip guns and everything was something moist and all of that, it died a death. Yeah, and that's what happened.
It did. And you know, it was just being used to promote a product or become a sponsorship or become like the amount of promotional tactics, the involvement of promotional of promotional items and storylines is almost kind of sickening. Like
it was
too much.
Yep.
I felt like, and it was so cheesy, and it was
do like one or two rivalries with it. Fine, whatever. Don't have prominent stuff, and then just drop it because they found this stupid fucking golden egg from Cleopatra, and then it was gone. Like,
right.
And then they didn't do it anymore.
Right. So this and what made it worse, I think, too, was the wording that they used to promote the value of the egg and stuff. I felt like it was in poor taste because of all the releases that WWE was doing this year.
Right. And they mentioned like the releases a lot this year, and I did not like that either.
It felt in bad taste. You know,
I agree with you on that.
And you know, with the zombies and with the drip,
the golden egg that belonged to Cleo.
It was just so stupid.
Right. Wrestling, here's the thing. With the Thunderdome, we did have instances of creative stuff. I like the Thunderdome, and I think it deserves the credit that it should. Little kinks here and there, but I think overall it was a good idea. It made it look so much better than it being in the Performance Center. It was a definite upgrade.
And the Thunderdome did provide for a lot of opportunities for different things, but there comes a point to where that was just out of control.
They're trying to incorporate the Thunderdome control with a live audience. You can't do that,
right?
Because you cannot have the reactions there unless you were here,
right? Speaking of which, and this is just terrible, and I hate doing this, but I feel like this whole, going back to the drip thing, it caused me to say that I think that The Miz was the least charismatic. I think that he was. And here's my point I was trying to make. They made him look so stupid, and they've been doing this for a long time. But at this point in time, it's just becoming a comedy act. It garners no reaction for me. And then they try to put The Miz in a serious storyline. I can't take the guy seriously because he just goes along with whatever the WWE does.
Right. Maybe his stuff will be better in 2022 because he's starting off in a good way with Edge.
But there's no charisma. And I'm just going based off of crowd reaction. The crowd reaction whenever The Miz is out there is just dead. It just sucks the life out of the room because of the antics.
I can see that.
And that is why. He is naturally charismatic. Why in the hell how you take a naturally charismatic guy and make him boring is beyond me.
There's actually a good amount of talent with doing something like that.
There is a good amount of talent with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of, like I said, I agree with you to a point, but I think there were less charismatic people overall that deserved that spot more than The Miz. I think you didn't like it because you know how good The Miz is.
Exactly.
And this year
he has so much talent, but you put him into a situation where he is unable to showcase that
I'll
talent.
be honest with you, if John Morrison was still with the company, because he's not with a company technically,
right.
I probably would have put him as the least charismatic.
I would have done that as well. But
or Jinder Mahal,
right.
or oh god, what's his name, Von Wagner. I would have put him as the least charismatic before.
Hey, that's a great
Miz.
that's a great segue into my worst rookie of the year, which is in fact Mr. Von Wagner, super green guy.
Oops.
Oh, there we go. Super green hat. Just no.
There we go.
I think they're putting him into a situation where
he is not prepared.
Right, he's not prepared.
Also, by the way, Von Wagner was on SmackDown for a week.
Right.
He is on NXT again.
I saw
and
that.
Competing in matches on NXT.
But he's almost too green for NXT.
Yeah, he's not there.
He almost needs to go back into Performance Center training.
I agree with you. He is by far my worst rookie of the year this year.
I mean, the matches that he had with Kyle O'Reilly carried those matches. They
were subpar at best, but he has a horrible finisher. He has zero charisma. At least he's doing a heel. It's a lot easier being a heel than it is being a babyface. So at least he can do that. But at the same time, the other issue is that with Von Wagner is that they pushed him so hard at first because when Samoa Joe had to vacate the NXT championship, Von Wagner replaced Kyle O'Reilly in that match.
Yeah.
We did not know who Von Wagner was.
Right. Yeah, I didn't fucking know who Von Wagner was.
Right. A better person for these positions, if you really want to do something like this, I'll be honest with you, is fucking Braun Breaker, but they're taking their time with Braun.
Right.
Thank God.
and here's the thing, too, with...
and Braun Breaker has, like, a weird charisma.
Right.
I like
And here's the thing, too, is that NXT 2.0 is stacked full of talent.
They have a lot of promise. We even said NXT. We were a little bit tentative about the new NXT, but I'm seeing what they're doing, and I'm getting curious. And they have interesting people. They're bringing in a lot of really good people.
Yeah.
And with this college thing, we did this, and Von Wagner came from that. He was a college football player.
Right.
He was, but the problem was that he was also second-generation wrestler.
Right.
And he's not there yet.
No, he's not.
There's at least something with the guy, but goddamn, give him 6 months in the Performance Center to get some of that seasoning, and you'll be in a much better spot.
I think they're trying to put him into too big of a spotlight too soon, and he is going to flop.
Yep, he is not going to be prepared for this.
Yeah. So going away from NXT 2.0, there are a lot of awards that Raw garnered this year, just in general. And let's start with Raw itself. Raw itself was the worst brand this year. Worst show this year by far. And
this is why we say this. Raw was really bad for like 8 to 9 months, and then actually because I watch it every single week for the mini reviews, and I am enjoying Raw more than SmackDown. And now SmackDown is starting to become a little stale for me. And I agree with you. Raw was overall the worst show of the year.
And I think the problem is that there's very much a lack of consistency. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that there's a lack of consistency.
They want to push somebody, then they stop pushing them, and then they want to do this, and then they stop doing it. It's like,
and I think that this is a problem that plagues Raw and SmackDown to an extent. The problem is that SmackDown has been so strong with as far as their roster has gone with Roman Reigns especially, that it becomes generic to a fault. It becomes the same song and dance to its detriment.
Right.
Raw's issue was the opposite. There was no consistency. There was no one really carrying that brand.
No.
On a consistent basis
the championship was jumping around too much. Now, if I was going to give somebody like that, I'm carrying this brand, I'm consistently good stuff, it would probably be Bobby Lashley and MVP and just
the
Hurt Business in general.
Right.
But we can't do that because now part of the Hurt Business sucks.
Right.
The
Hurt Business is not consistent.
Right.
And that is a reflection broadly of the way that Raw is going.
Right.
And Raw has a very colorful cast of characters that have won awards. I want to start off with Riddle. And there was something interesting that happened with Riddle.
Was that this year or last year?
It was this year. He gave one interview to AJ Styles. He was interviewing AJ Styles, and there was no reason for it. It was terribly done.
It was so I will at least give some sort of context with that because that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking that where Riddle got mixed up with his words and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do this," and like went away with Asuka. Was that this year or last year?
That was, I think, earlier this year.
Yeah, that was earlier this year. I agree with you that Riddle is not there. He's actually much better now. The reason for the interview thing was because they were doing the RK Bronament. And that was where Randy Orton and Riddle were doing the interviews because it was something that they were hosting.
It was, but it's the reason I do this. He
is very cringy and very. It's like nails on the chalkboard kind of that. It's like in NXT he's doing stuff with MSK, and I feel like there's some more organic to it.
Yeah,
he's doing a different sort of thing where I think he's trying to play that stoner character to a fault on Raw.
I think
where in NXT, why he got so popular was because it was just subtle. That was just Riddle.
But see, here's the thing: is that Riddle gave one interview to AJ Styles, and it was probably the most awkward thing that people have said, and I myself included. It was very awkward. Like the situation was just very awkward. Because Riddle and AJ Styles and that those teams have a history that goes back. But I just don't think it's appropriate. And I've always had an issue with people doing interviews right after matches.
I'm surprised Omos wasn't on this list at all.
Omos was not on this list at all, though he'd probably be quickly rising the ranks now that he's separated from AJ Styles. AJ Styles carried that man.
Oh, yeah.
But the point is that it was just awkward, I guess, was the point.
Now part of awkward and sporadic, I think, really have to fall on this guy. It has to.
Yeah.
The worst writer of the year was Michael Hayes.
Michael Hayes is the head writer of WWE Creative.
Yes, he is at the end of the day the guy who okays and does not okay rivalries. That's who we have to blame because number one. At the end
of the day, it's really Vince, but Michael has a lot of input in whether or not something goes to that desk.
Right.
And the types of things that he let go to that desk are strange. And
then McMahon is stopping and rewriting shows and doing all this. So in a way, it's partially there, but once again, this guy is leading it. Right. He needs to say, that's a dumb idea, Vince.
He needs to push back a little bit.
But Michael Hayes is a yes man. He is. This is why he's been in the position that he's been in for as long as he's been doing it, just like Kevin Dunn.
Right.
At least with Kevin Dunn, he's still a really good producer.
Right.
Obviously, the Thunderdome would not exist without Kevin Dunn's input in how that was presented.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But let's talk about some other things on Raw that were just absolutely egregious. Let's talk about worst announcer, Corey Graves.
Oh, God.
Do you want to know how bad he is?
So, I literally watch and listen every single week of this total jackass gush over Carmella, gush over Queen Zelina, just play the part of Jerry Lawler to the point of annoyance because Jerry Lawler was subtle with his innuendos and Jerry Lawler was clever.
Yeah.
But he is not clever. He's like, it hits you in the face like, no. The problem is that the dynamic between, between
Because who is he with? He's
Byron
with
Saxton and that new guy that was
some
hired
other
on.
guy.
So we can't even give him anything bad. Actually, I kind of like his commentary. I think he actually does add some dynamic to it.
But
the only thing I don't like
Corey
is
Graves does not add anything.
Byron Saxton and Corey Graves' their chemistry is mean.
Yeah.
When I listen to it, I feel sympathy for Byron, and it was like, God damn,
because
fuck this guy. This is a toxic work environment.
Yeah,
fuck this guy.
Because Corey Graves is he's just a bully. That's how he comes across.
He sounds like a straight up bully. He gushes over the heels, especially with Carmella, which is just fucking. It's like God damn.
I understand that you guys are fucking each other, but seriously, Jesus Christ, just stop with it.
It is to the point of the worst thing possible. It's so bad.
It makes you not want to watch Raw. And who's watching Raw? How low can their ratings go?
And I can almost guarantee you that a lot of people will agree that the commentary is just wretched. At least with Pat McAfee and Michael Cole. Number one, there's only two of them.
Right.
But but also McAfee gives a certain life to SmackDown, where it can be kind of bad, but at the same time, you can tell that he's having fun with it. Mm-hmm. And I can understand why they like him there.
Right.
And also because with Michael Cole, it's a good contrast with him. There's no organic chemistry with anybody on Raw.
It's not organic at all. I can almost guarantee
with Byron Saxton and Corey Graves. It's forced conflict where it sounds like cringe.
Yeah, it just sounds cringy. You know that the producers and Vince in the back, they're screaming into their ears constantly. And we know about this because Michael Cole experiences that issue too.
Poor Michael Cole, he's like deaf.
Yeah,
it's like goddamn.
because of all the time that he's had to listen to someone else in the ear telling him what to say.
Right.
And he's trying to say it, and he's had his own bouts, but Corey Graves is just egregious to the point of just being a bully, and it sounds almost like he's angry about
being there. He doesn't want to be there. A person who has the same sort of character, well, not same sort of character work, the same principle done well as it relates to commentary, I think, is Taz.
Yeah.
Taz is still a heel. He has a heel group, but when he's on commentary, he jabs you a little bit, but it's not overbearing and really cringy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about other colorful characters. Let's talk about our worst high flyer, Dominik Mysterio.
Yeah. Okay. I think I was talking with somebody else about this, and I think I have it in here. It's under,
I know.
It's under Frog Splash. Peanut Gallery just gives me photos without giving me a direction. So, with Dominik Mysterio, I'm going to give this kid a benefit of the doubt.
He's too tall to be a high flyer.
I agree with you on that. Now, if he only did like the Frog Splash and the 619, but then the rest of it is maybe not as high flight, I will be okay with that. But the problem is that Dominik Mysterio trained and worked under the WWE system. There's potential, but the problem is that they're plateauing him intentionally.
Yeah, they are. They're making him like a Rey Mysterio double. But do you realize how tall this kid is? This kid would be a lot better if he developed his own, maybe a more technical style something like that.
A perfect example of the freedom of a second-generation wrestler kind of doing their own thing and getting away with it right now is Hook.
Yeah.
He is the only one right now that has that. Now, you can say, what about Natalya? But Natalia's really developed so much. It's different with her.
It is. She's more of a veteran. She was under the tutelage of the actual Hart family dungeon, which is all technical wrestlers.
Right, so she already had a different chemistry. Dominik went to the Performance Center to train to be a wrestler.
Right, and
he never did anything else.
His style is just not matching his build.
I think a great benefit for Dominik Mysterio, and I think this should have been day one, is go to Mexico. and train under Mexican rules.
Right.
Because number one, that's how Rey Mysterio trained.
Yeah.
That's how Eddie Guerrero trained.
And they would train him because there are tall wrestlers in Mexico too.
Who do the style that Dominik is trying.
Right.
And are very successful at it.
Dominik, it just looks a little too...
I feel bad for the guy. I guarantee you, if he left his company, he would be much better.
Yeah, I think so. I think so because he is still under that tutelage. He's trying to be.
He's trying to be Rey Mysterio,
right? But he's like a foot and a half taller.
Right.
Which makes no sense to me because you can't have that tall Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio works because of his size.
Right. Braun Breaker works because of his size, but also he has a charisma about him. Dominik did not get that. He just went right up to the main roster.
That's the other thing, too, is that Dominik has no charisma.
He didn't go to NXT. How can you season yourself on main roster?
Right. Exactly. And there's just a lot of different things about Dominik, about him being
I don't think he necessarily needs it. Well, speaking of Mexico, let's talk about the worst match of the year.
Oh yeah. Let's do that really quick before we go back to our Raw.
Was this?
Yeah.
Was this the one with LA Park? No, that was La Empresa.
Yes, it was La Empresa versus Los Psycho Circus at Triplemania Regia 2.
But that's not this one.
I know.
This is a different match.
Oh, I know. I just wanted to find something. Anyways, so this was the worst match. If you watched the match, it was
which one was the worst match? Because we're talking about Triplemania Regia 2.
Yes.
Both of these matches were on there. I believe that the La Empresa match was worse.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
This was not La Empresa.
I know. I couldn't find a picture.
Oh, okay. Because that one had like that moonsault where Sam Adonis just totally fucking missed.
Yeah, he totally missed. Let's see what other highlights from that match.
Well, you got pissed off at this one because Cain Valesquez, despite everybody knowing it's Cain Valesquez, is wearing a fucking mask.
Right. Oh yeah, and that's another thing too. That's another thing I'm going to mention while we're on that topic. But yeah, so
no, this was LA Park. What am I thinking?
I
don't know what I'm thinking right now.
I don't know what.
Oh, you know why? Because Psycho Clown was not a part of the Psycho Circus match, and that's throwing me off right now. Okay, no, I got this. So this was the Cain Valesquez, Pagano, Psycho Clown versus LA Park and La Mercenarios.
No, but that's not my pick.
That's not the pick. It was Psycho Circus and La Empresa at the same event.
It was, yes. And
I'm getting so thrown off because Psycho Clown is in this match despite him being part of fucking Los Psycho Circus.
Right. But we'll talk about both while we're on this because this was another very notable pay-per-view that we
just
have to,
absolutely shit the fucking bed.
It was. And like I said before, the commentary didn't really help. But
the commentary was fucking awful.
But the matches themselves were subpar going until...
Mess. All of them were a mess.
Mm-hmm.
They were a mess. They were scattered. Nobody knew what the fuck was happening. Right. Nobody knew if somebody pinned somebody for, I think, like at least 2 matches.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the Los Psycho Circus La Empresa match before we move on to Cain Valesquez because he won an award as well. There was a lot of botches in this match to start with. Los Psycho Circus.
It wasn't even all Los Psycho Circus anymore because Dave the Clown is not part of Los Psycho Circus,
right?
And they had to replace Monster Clown with Chessman because Monster Clown got hurt.
Right. The rivalry leading into the match, that made a lot of sense. I mean, I understand that
they had a match at Triplemania.
Right,
why are they continuing? Because Triplemania should be where you restart everything.
Right, and it wasn't. Obviously, this was continuing, but it was pretty much the same match that they had at Triplemania. It was like song and dance, the same thing. I'm like, let's do something different.
Right.
It was a boring. It shouldn't have been a boring match, but it was a boring match. I understand the entire arc, the rivalry going into it, but we already had the Triplemania match. Why do I care? Right? Why do I care? What makes me care more about this? Have La Empresa go for some belts or something. Right, and La Empresa is really good at generating heat, but I don't understand because I feel like Los Psycho Circus should be a heel faction too.
You would think,
right?
Well, but here's the problem, though.
They're a bunch of murder clowns.
Yeah, but the problem is that Psycho Clown is too popular. He is super fucking popular.
I understand.
Also,
that.
also Pagano.
Make sense to me.
Also, I think I said this before, but I'm gonna say it again. Why is Pagano popular and he is not a good wrestler? He is not a good wrestler.
Yeah, exactly.
With Cain Valesquez, I am going to give him a benefit of the doubt. Well, number one, the mask is dog shit.
Right.
It's so bad.
So why don't we just talk about it since you really want to go back to the Cain Valesquez match?
Well, we're talking about both of them interchangeably.
So Cain Valesquez was my pick for the worst major draw. And the reason that I said that is because they were really promoting Cain Valesquez being the hottest act, like going into AAA, right?
And also the one of the hottest acts in WWE when he was there, but he got hurt.
Right. But here's the thing, is that then they put him behind a mask. You would think that a star as popular, as well-known as Cain Valesquez...
But then he took off the mask.
Right. What's the point? I didn't even know it was Cain Valesquez until like halfway through the match. I'm like, oh, that's Cain Valesquez.
In his defense, he did wrestle one match in AAA before signing with WWE, and there he also did have a mask.
But you...
Why?
Why? Yeah.
Of anybody...
He's a very recognizable face.
He is one of the top draws in MMA back in the early days was Cain Valesquez.
Right.
Why did you put him in a mask? And then he took off his mask because Rio de fucking Jalisco came out because apparently we're going to have an LA Park Rio de Jalisco who's
ancient.
He's literally ancient. I think his fourth or fifth fucking retirement is horrible.
Right. But anyways, the point is that it just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, but
we had some really good and some really bad with AAA.
We did. With Triplemania, Regia, more specifically.
Oh, I was saying in general.
Oh yeah, in general, yes,
yeah,
absolutely. But I thought that the second time between La Empresa and Los Psycho Circus was the worst match of the year because it was just a clusterfuck. It was also just the same song and dance we've already seen from them.
When
I don't want to see it anymore.
I distinctively remember doing this for two matches. Actually, ironically, the one that you're talking about, the worst match of the year, and this one is. I think I had to go back and watch the finish 4 times each
just to understand what the hell happened. There was no big climax. There was no continuity. No. It's just
finish. Like, somebody tapped out. I was like, when the fuck did this happen?
There wasn't.
Everybody like pinned one guy on Low Psycho Circus. I'm like, when the fuck did that happen?
Right.
I had to watch it 2 or 3 times. I didn't even see the ref go down for a 3.
Right. And let's talk about the production quality of AAA.
Yeah, let's talk about the fucking production quality of the
because
dog shit
Conan
company.
won the award for worst producer. He is a main producer for AAA.
It was obviously going to be Vince, I'm going to assume, or WWE producer, but
no. Oh God, no.
Really?
WWE has some great production. They're the best in the industry. AAA, they have a lot of great wrestlers. They have a very stacked roster. They have great relationships with other companies. They have the history. Not the history that CML does.
It's hard for me to.
They have that. They're on the upswing, in my opinion. I think
they are on the general upswing. I just don't think
the
Conan was the
production
worst
quality
producer.
is just dog shit.
You're doing this based on one event, and I'm sorry, you're doing
it's not just based on one event, and I don't really know why. I don't really know what their contracts are like with the...
I don't know. I don't even know why Conan is a main producer in AAA. He has his own promotion. He has the Crash Lucha Libre promotion.
But he is the main producer.
It's so stupid.
Or at least he's the executive producer. So
yeah, but
he makes decisions in AAA.
He's organizing these cards, and sometimes it's a clusterfuck and a half.
It is. And what I don't like about it is that there's always that pan between different camera angles that just looked way too forced because they're trying to get the sponsorships in.
It's jarring.
There's points in the match where the camera's in the wrong side of the ring and you don't really know what happened. There's a lack of replays generally, so that you can't get an idea of what happened during the match. So it's hard to follow because the production quality is so poorly done. And I'm not talking about just the quality, because we, of course, most of our streams are not by legal means, but the structure of the matches themselves don't make me excited to watch it.
There is an ebb and flow to a wrestling show in general where you keep somebody's attention, because you have to keep their attention for 2.5, 3 hours in some cases.
Right.
And when it's going back and forth, it's jarring to the point of you getting fucking dizzy.
Yeah.
And all of this, it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't.
It's jarring and annoying, and I can agree with you to a point with Conan being one of the worst, or being the worst producer this year.
And maybe it's not all his fault. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that he has to show X number of times, the sponsors and stuff.
I agree with that.
But
there's a way to do it without being
there is a way to do it without it being so jarring, is my point. So that's what garners him into this. But let's go back to Raw. We're kind of getting down to the last awards here. But let's talk about Reggie, worst male wrestler of the year.
I can agree with you on that. Literally, this guy came from Cirque du Soleil as a performer in Cirque du Soleil and was signed to this company. He was winning matches with a flipping whoopsie. It was the weirdest move ever. And he adds nothing to this 24/7 division.
He has no value to the WWE in general.
None.
After they let go of Nia Jax, nothing.
After they stopped him from being the personal person with Carmella when she was actually tolerable.
Right.
Because remember, he was not Reggie all the time. He was Reginald, and he was a person who gave her... There was that dynamic there. There was actually a good dynamic there that I actually really enjoyed. And I think if they kept that with his athleticism, because clearly the guy is athletic.
Yeah.
If they did that just kind of out of nowhere, every now and then, I think that would have been a really good dynamic. But then they have him competing in matches and holding... the 24/7 champion. Do you consider it a champion?
It's a joke at this point. It's a prop.
It's a prop. So...
Take with it what you will, right?
And now he's hanging out with Dana Brooke, who is the current 24/7 champion, going for the belts. Dude, you can roll her up and pin Dana Brooke.
But his matches have been lackluster at best, just terrible at worst. Storyline, I don't know what they're doing with the guy.
They're having other matches, and then they have Reggie and all the fucking little jobbers run in there and making themselves look like a bunch of jackasses during pay-per-view matches.
Right.
And also, his moveset, once again, is horrid.
Yeah.
He is not a wrestler.
He is not a wrestler. If he claims to be a wrestler, he's not a very good one. Let's move on to the worst baby face. Jackson Riker.
I can agree with you on that, 100%.
Jackson Riker is not a natural babyface. He is not. Both on and off screen, he has proven himself to be a decisive character. He is the perfect heel-looking character, but you try and make him a babyface.
Right.
Why?
Right. His stuff with Elias, I liked the dynamic with them. I thought that was a great thing.
I did too.
Where the fuck is Elias, by the way?
I have no fucking idea.
I'll be honest with you. I was either going... I do agree with Jackson Riker at the end of the day, because they shaved off his head and make him look like a...
Right.
Like a weirdo.
Yeah.
Luckily, he's been released at this point.
Yeah.
I would have actually put Doudrop in his position. I think she's a much better heel.
But
the dancing and this, it's oh hell no, absolutely fucking not.
With
her
Doudrop.
theme song,
I know.
It's oh my fucking now.
But I gave Doudrop a lot of awards this year. Let's talk about our worst brawler in Bray Wyatt.
Why?
Because Bray Wyatt has been he was terrible this year.
I will agree. It was the year, not the guy.
It was not, and here's the thing: is that Bray Wyatt's never been a great brawler because he gets exhausted too easily. He's more that methodical character-looking figure, that sort of thing. But he was not a good. They wanted him to be a brawler. They wanted him to be this monster. but he wasn't this year. Last year, his mind games and tricks and all that shit, that made him a monster. This year, sucked. 2021 Bray Wyatt, no.
Right. I can agree with that.
Just out the window.
Because they had, the Fiend lose. And
Right.
they had a lackluster Universal Championship reign. Or was that last year?
That was last year.
Okay.
He came back and did, like, a single match. I mean, again, his character work is awesome.
His last match was at WrestleMania with Alexa Bliss, where they overdid it with Alexa. I kind of like that look that she had. It's like, what the fuck?
But then they overdid it.
They overdid it. Then they released him.
Yeah.
And it's like, he went away.
Yeah.
I understand why he went away.
Yeah.
I do, because he was really... It's hard. This one's really hard because I think Brody Lee's death, because ironically it's actually the anniversary of his death. It's really hard to think about this because this hit him so much harder, I think, than anybody else. He took time off to grieve because it did hit him really hard.
Yeah.
And I think his personal grievances and what happened behind the scenes affected his in-ring work more
I think so.
than he wanted.
Yep.
So
WWE, again, it was just the expectation of just, okay, you have to be this kind of wrestler, and he just didn't perform.
He was not, because he wasn't in control of his character anymore. And that's what happened.
He wasn't in the right frame of mind. Right.
Right.
Whether that's a personal level or on a professional level, he just wasn't in his frame of mind. And he looked bigger, and he looks like he gained weight and stuff. It just didn't look very good.
Right. I agree with you.
Let's talk about the worst technical wrestler in Paul Wight. And the reason I chose him is, again, AEW wanted him to be like this, sort of with the rivalry with Anthony
QT Marshall.
with QT Marshall. Sorry.
I didn't think Go is part of the factory, but yeah,
right.
I know what you meant.
But anyways, he should not be wrestling anymore.
No.
Let's put it that way.
He does not look good. He's older.
He's old and slow.
He's had multiple hip replacement surgeries.
Yeah.
He might be in good shape, period.
Right.
But that does not mean you're in good. You're not in good in ring shape.
Good in ring shape. I don't know why even if it was just for one match.
Also, you gave him the worst finisher, the knockout punch.
did.
Because it's erosion. So before, he actually had some snap to it, and it's like this big guy, huge.
This huge guy with this big punch. It looked a lot more believable back in 2007.
Right, where now it's just like...
Like, they wanted to capture the spirit of the match that he had with Floyd Mayweather.
Right, and I'll be honest with you, I think... I think the flipping whoopsie that Reggie does was my worst finisher of the year.
Yeah. I would think so as well.
With the knockout punch, I will at least give one thing to Show. He does look amazing.
He does.
And he is a big guy, so I still think like a punch from Big Show would theoretically knock you out.
But he's not a technical wrestler. He is, again, not what the expectation was from AEW.
Right.
And AEW, this was a poor performance from both.
Yep, I agree.
And it was a low light in that otherwise great pay-per-view.
Right. I can see that.
But yeah, let's go back. We only have a few more left. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to the most underrated in Cesaro, of course, because Cesaro, the workhorse that could, just...
He had so many opportunities to excel. I think wasn't his match with Roman Reigns this year for the Universal title. Great match.
It was a great match.
And it was Cesaro's time.
It was. Why are you not giving Cesaro the time of day?
And now he's in another rivalry with Sheamus because it worked so fucking well before.
And then they're going to get back together and just rinse and repeat because they can't find anything else to do with them.
Have him win the Intercontinental Champion. Get that title off of Shinsuke.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
That would be a perfect person.
Yeah, but no.
Right there. Cesaro did not win that gauntlet. It was Sami Zayn who won the gauntlet. Now, I like Sami. I'm not mad about that. But it's like yeah. Cesaro needs a title again, and I think the Intercontinental Champion would be perfect. And
it's sad that someone with so much talent is being wasted away. And these might not be his prime years, but he's pretty damn close to being it.
He is so good still.
He is still so very good.
His selling is on point. His wrestling is on point. He's technical wizard. He's super fucking strong.
He's just not strong on the mic.
Anybody who is worth their weight in spit would kill to have a guy like Claudio in their roster.
It would.
He would be my number one baby face.
Yeah, absolutely.
With a manager, you win every time.
Right. Anyways, let's move on to the worst major event, Hell in a Cell.
I am not surprised about that. I think this is the second consecutive year that Hell in a Cell won the worst. Wasn't Hell in a Cell 2020 another one?
Yeah, it was. But anyways, it was the last pay-per-view in the Thunderdome. So I don't think they really tried. I agree with you. Every match was just lackluster at best. I think everyone was excited for Money in the Bank for fans.
Right.
And I think that anticipation was just there. It's just like, we just got to get this.
Hell in a Cell was just kind of like in a death spot.
It was.
It's like right before the big main event, after a really good match, you have like a match in between for people to calm down.
Yeah.
I can see that. And I understand your reasoning.
And I hate the red cell still.
I do too. It's super annoying.
It was super annoying.
It's super annoying then. It's super annoying now. We saw a red cage before TNA had that stupid Asylum match with the big red like circle.
Yeah, and that was one of their worst matches.
It was bright and red.
Yeah. Red cages just don't do well.
Right. It's like bright yellow bamboo cages with the Punjabi prison.
Yeah.
Cool idea in concept, and I think if they did it like in a dome-esque thing, like something from what's that movie called? That apocalypse movie. What was it called? Like that kind of thing. That would be cool.
Right.
And maybe have, like that kind of environment would be really cool, but not 2 layers of cage that are bright, whatever.
Right. But anyways, Hell in a Cell, worst pay-per-view of the year.
Yep.
I think a lot of people agree. A close second was WrestleMania Backlash.
Yep, I can agree with that.
Worst promoter, Nick Khan.
I am not surprised about Nick.
I was going to put Vince in there as well, but I don't think Vince really cares or knows what's going on half the time at this point.
Now, Nick Khan is... The speculation right now is that Nick Khan is doing all of what he's doing on purpose for The Rock or investors to buy because Nick Khan is a family friend of Rock. Mm-hmm. I do not agree with that.
There's a lot of those rumors have been quashed. I don't think anyone there actually came out and said that, but everyone kind of agrees that it would be kind of a stupid idea for The Rock to buy the WWE.
Yep.
But Nick Khan is my least favorite, not only because of all the releases and all the changes that he's done in such a short amount of time to where I can't really process all of it.
Right.
But also the way in which that he has kind of entered into because I think he was hired earlier this year.
Yeah, he was. It's breakneck speed.
And he's undermining Triple H. And he is now the successor in waiting, I think, for
I will give him 2 things that I enjoy. Number 1, if you actually looked, I think you saw it on his LinkedIn. Accolades up the ass. Like, this guy, very smart guy.
He knows what he's doing.
Right.
I just don't like it because...
Wrestling is such a different sort of industry than any other industry in the world.
Even other sports.
Yep. Period. Like, end of discussion.
Products.
Nothing else is like professional wrestling.
Right.
And also number 2, it's obvious what he's doing.
Yeah.
He is selling the company. This company is going to be sold by next year or the year after.
Right.
It's that close because they're doing record revenue month after month, and after 6 months, that's when they start presenting.
Yep. But anyways, we're going to move on because we have one more award, and it's the worst moment of the year, and it was of course, everyone knows, it just happened a few weeks ago, the Hannibal ref stabbing incident.
Yes.
And
now, this is a very underneath thing, so can you give some context of what happened?
Yeah, so Hannibal is the guy in the mask. He has been known to be violent in the past. Rumor has it is that he was drunk, went into the ring. There was supposed to be a spot where the referee was supposed to bleed. Word is he got impatient and decided to do the bleeding himself. and it just turned into a nightmare.
Yep. The referee, what was the staple amount? Like, he had to go to the hospital.
Like 40 staples. He almost died because of the blood loss.
Yeah, it was really bad.
And then Hannibal went on. The video has now since been deleted, but he went on. He blamed.
Deleted? It's not deleted. If it was on the internet, it's deleted.
It was a since deleted video.
It's not deleted.
But it was said he blamed the referee.
He did blame the referee.
He blamed
the company. By the way, the company fired him.
Yeah, he blamed the company. He blamed the other participants in the match.
It wasn't GCW, right?
No, it wasn't. It was more underground than that. And he blamed the production just in general. But he didn't blame himself. He also didn't address any of the rumors that he was drunk. So yeah, he's a madman.
He has done this before. He's been banned, I think, from 3 different places, and multiple wrestlers have come out and said that he does take these liberties. Hannibal is, yes, if you're wondering, Hannibal is the one who I believe sued Abdullah the Butcher for giving him Hep C.
Yep.
So obviously this guy is a dick, and nobody should hire him in the wrestling world.
Nope.
And he said, I think he's done wrestling. I think he's like, I want to do my own wrestling stuff up in Canada. Great, go ahead and fucking do that. Anybody who's worth any company who's worth their weight in spit will not hire any of your fucking students for one reason, because your fucking name is Hannibal. And this was fairly recent.
It was just a few weeks ago.
And I agree with Peanut Gallery. I was the one who even said that the Hannibal stabbing incident should be the worst moment in wrestling. Not because it was bad, but somebody literally could have died.
Right.
And this was a deliberate
It was deliberate.
action.
Yep, it was. Anyways, that's all I've got for Worst of the Year.
All right. So,
stay tuned for a special announcement.
Yes.